When you go out to wish upon a star some night, you've got billions to choose from.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Stoner Report. I'm Marius Stoner, Associate Editor of Cannabis Culture magazine. Every week I do a show bringing you the week's headlines in the world of cannabis. So welcome and thank you for watching. So we'll just, this week we'll start off internationally in Slovakia, which happens to be the country of my birth. Seeds were considered a narcotic, and they've just been moved off the drug list, off that list. So, marijuana seeds will no longer be illegal in Slovakia as of March 2014. Here, let me just adjust the sound a bit before I go on. My apologies. Okay, how's that? So a little bit better. More. All right, I think, yeah, those levels look pretty good to me. Okay, marijuana seeds will no longer be illegal in Slovakia as of March 2014, according to a report in the Slovak Spectator. While the move has yet to be confirmed by Parliament and the President, the deed is considered as good as done because Parliament is not dominated by the Smer party, and President Ivan Gasparovic is widely viewed as a Smer ally. The Health Ministry proposal says that pot seeds should not be considered controlled substances because they do not contain any psychoactive compounds. The law change applies only to marijuana seeds. The possession or cultivation of the plant will remain illegal. Under current Slovak drug laws, possession of personal use amounts of any drug, including marijuana, is punishable by up to either 3 or 5 years in prison, depending on the amount. Amounts less than 3 personal doses earn the lower penalty, while amounts up to 10 doses garner the larger penalty. Greater amounts trigger the Slovak equivalent of possession with intent to distribute charges with stiffer penalties. So, that's one good sign. Obviously, the marijuana laws there are still way, way in the past, in the dark ages, but at least now they can feed themselves and possibly use the oils for manufacture. All right. In Mexico City, the leaders aim to fight cartel violence by legalizing pot. This computer's not doing what I want it to. Come on. There we go. Mexico City is one of the world's largest cities with 8.6 million residents. For years, it has been overrun by drug cartels, which have transformed the city into the center of brutality, killing more than 60,000 people in just 6 years. A large portion of the funding for those cartels comes from the immense underground marijuana industry they operate. In an effort to remove money and power from the cartels, some political leaders in Mexico's capital announced plans this month to draft proposals to legalize and regulate marijuana. At the end of this month, members of the Mexico City City Assembly will submit proposed bills to establish legal cannabis clubs and allow individuals to possess small amounts of marijuana. As Times Magazine reported on October 14th, Mexico City's new mayor, Miguel Mancera voiced support for the marijuana policy reform in the past, and his support for the proposed new bills is anticipated. A Mexican federal law decriminalized the possession of about 1/6 of an ounce of marijuana in 2009, but police continue to arrest people in possession of little over the specified amount. Mexican Assemblyman Vidal Lernas told Time. Lernas is considering legislation that would make possession of 1 ounce of marijuana an issue not for prosecutors, but for dissuasion committees, which would advise people to go to treatment if caught repeatedly. The proposal to add cannabis clubs to the city, Time reports, aims to circumvent federal laws against selling marijuana, as members would simply be paying to grow for their own use. So there's, again, another step forward. Obviously, not the entire way, because, I don't know, I smoke marijuana every day. It's preventative. It's a health, like it prevents me from getting sick and stuff because of all the cannabinoids. A lot of medical patients use it simply just by smoking and vaporizing and all sorts of other things. And for any government to tell us that this is wrong and that you should be put in jail or even sent to some sort of rehab place if you repeat offenders, it's none of their effing business in Mexico or anywhere else. Also in Mexico, the ex-president, Vicente Fox, is blasting the present president, Felipe Calderon, for his drug war stance. Legalization of drugs would end gangland violence that has cost tens of thousands of lives in Mexico, former President Vicente Fox said, blaming successor Felipe Calderon for the carnage. Calderon does have something to hide. 80,000 deaths in his 2006 to 2012 administration, Fox told Spanish publication Key when asked about his successor's call for Mexico to formally protest U.S. spying on Mexican officials. As for whether legalization would end Mexico's problem with drug violence, Fox said, certainly it would be the grand solution. The United Nations is already moving in that direction, Fox said. We are all saying that we must end prohibition and move to a phase of drug regulation. Fox and Calderon both belong to the Conservative National Action Party, or PAN. Though Fox was hardly soft on Mexico's drug cartels, Calderon militarized and vastly escalated the campaign against the drug trade, resulting in an unprecedented explosion in violence. So there we go. President is moving in the wrong direction, and it's very easy for an somebody to say stuff. It's not that easy for somebody who's in power to go against the grain and try to reform drug policy. But what can you do? At least they are speaking out when they can, or when they feel they can. Meanwhile, in Uruguay, the price of a gram of legalized cannabis is set at $1. Uruguay is set to become the first country in the world where the sale of cannabis will not only become legal and the government controlled, but at around $1 a gram, probably also the one with the most affordable marijuana anywhere. A Senate vote to legalize the drug that is expected in mid-November as part of an effort in the South American country to explore alternatives in the war on drugs. The head of Uruguay's National Drug Board, Julio Calzada, said the government would set the price of cannabis low in the hopes of pushing drug traffickers out of the market. The illegal market is very risky and of poor quality, he said. The price of marijuana from Paraguay that gets sold on the street here is about $1 a gram. So we're going to set the price of government-controlled cannabis at about that same price. We want to snatch the market away from the drug traffickers. It will take a few months after that to organize a system through which cannabis will be sold freely at pharmacies. The system will be in place around mid-2014, Calzada told the Uruguayan newspaper El País. So there'll be time to harvest and start selling. Smoking cannabis has long been legal in Uruguay, but growing, carrying, or buying or selling it has been punishable by prison terms. About 120,000 of the country's 3.4 million population consume cannabis at least once a year, according to the National Drug Council. Of these, 75,000 smoke it every week and 20,000 every day. So, again, another step in the right direction. They're trying to stop people from growing it and selling it themselves, and that, I believe, is wrong. I mean, it is a plant like any other. I'd rather grow it myself than get it from some corporation or company or the government or anything, but this is certainly good news regardless. Back in the U.S., in Science News, a study finds compounds in cannabis fights leukemia and kills cancer cells. The concomitant administration of various non-psychoactive plant cannabinoids demonstrates energetic anti-cancer activity in human leukemia cells, according to preclinical trial data published online this week in the journal Anti-Cancer Research. Investigators from St. George's, University of London, assessed the anti-cancer potential of 3 non-psychoactive cannabinoids, cannabidiol, cannabigerol, and cannabivarin, and their respective acids on 2 types of leukemia cell lines. Authors reported that the administration of cannabinoids in concert with one another resulted in the additive of mildly synergistic interaction. They concluded, "Our findings indicate that cannabinoids act with each other in a way such that doses for therapy could be reduced without significant loss of activity." The study adds further support for the idea that cannabinoids have a role in cancer setting not only as single agents but also in combination with each other. Commenting on the study in a press release, lead author Wei Liu said, "These agents are able to interfere with the development of cancerous cells, stopping them in their tracks and preventing them from growing. In some cases, by using specific dosage patterns, they can destroy cancer cells on their own. Used in combination with existing treatment, we could discover some highly effective strategies for tackling cancer. Significantly, these compounds are inexpensive to produce, and making better use of their unique properties could result in much more cost-effective anti-cancer drugs in the future." Well, it's been known since the 70s that cannabis has anti-cancer fighting properties, and the research has been suppressed, but recently more and more people are reopening this field of research and finding out that cancer is a preventative medicine, even for cancer. Pretty awesome. Also on the medical front, parents of epileptic children are being drawn towards Colorado because of their medical marijuana laws. A small fraction of parents calling themselves medical marijuana refugees are heading to Colorado in order to obtain medical marijuana for their children who suffer from epilepsy. According to a recent report by the Colorado Springs Gazette, parents of children suffering from severe epilepsy are becoming more drawn to apparent success stories of children with those seizures and are being curbed by medical marijuana. In June, there were only 35 kids under the age of 18 on the Colorado Patient Registry, but as of August, that number rose to 60. Medical marijuana is legal for minors in the state in at least 15 states and the District of Columbia, as long as they have some form of parental consent. The increase of patients in August coincided with the airing of Dr. Sanjay Gupta's CNN documentary Weed, which featured the medical marijuana success story of 6-year-old Charlotte Figi. Charlotte was diagnosed with a rare disorder called Dravet syndrome, a rare form of prolonged seizures that begin in infancy and can result in death. The young girl was having over 300 tonic-clonic seizures a week, and her mother, Paige Figi, said the family had reached the end of the road with pharmaceutical drugs for her, so they began to consider cannabis. Well, there we go. I don't like to repeat myself, so I won't. Latest Gallup poll shows that 50% of Americans now say legalize marijuana. Support for marijuana legalization is at the highest levels ever, with 58% of Americans in favor. according to a Gallup poll released Tuesday. That's up an impressive 8 points from 2011, when Gallup had 50% supporting legalization, and even more impressively, up 10 points from last year, when support had dipped 48% in the annual poll. The poll results are generally in line with other polls in the past couple of years that have shown half or more Americans ready to free the weed. As Gallup's own annual polls suggest, after support for legalization stayed around 1/4 of the population in the 1980s and 1990s, momentum has picked up since the turn of the century, when only 31% supported legalization, and now nearly double that number are ready for it. Gallup pointed at the movement towards support of legalization by independents, now at 62% and up a big 12 points since last year. Support also increased among Democrats from 61 to 65, while among Republicans, only 35% favored it, although that too was up over last year by a couple of points. The pollster also singled out strong support among younger Americans, rapidly increasing, although still not majority, of support among senior citizens. 2/3, 67% of 18 to 29-year-olds said legalize it, as did 62% of 30 to 49-year-olds, and 56% of 50 to 64-year-olds. Only 45% of seniors agreed, but that was a whopping 14% over 2010. Gallup offered several explanations for the upswing, including victories in Washington and Colorado last year, the Obama administration's relatively soft shoe approach on the matter, and increasing social and cultural acceptance of the plant. A sizable 38% admitted to having tried it, driven in part by medical marijuana. So, finally, the education is being spread, and more people are realizing the truth about cannabis, that it's not a gateway drug, and it's not going to harm you, and it's probably going to help you. So, in DC, despite the fact that they have legalized medical marijuana, their dispensaries aren't doing so well because there's not enough registered patients. You might not think it would be possible to lose a buck in the marijuana business. In the nation's capital, you'd apparently be wrong. All medical marijuana businesses are operating at a loss, DC Dispensary Capital City Care's General Manager David Gard told the Washington Times. So far, all we have been doing is bleeding cash, Bob Simmons, with one of DC's 6 approved cultivation centers, Alternative Solutions, said to the paper. DC's medical marijuana program has been operational for some 3 months now. In that time, only 59 patients have been added to the registry of legal buyers, reports the Washington Post. The city's pioneering dispensaries say they are losing money. Doctors remain fearful to write prescriptions, and patients with HIV or cancer who may legally obtain the drug say they have been stymied by lengthy applications and warnings from purchases remain illegal under federal law. Those were among the many warnings that advocates for a robust medical marijuana program ticked off Monday at a hearing, as they urged D.C. council members to relax the city's strict medical marijuana standards. Advocates are asking that the district program be expanded, since current regulations allow medical marijuana to be prescribed only to patients with cancer, glaucoma, HIV, AIDS, or a condition that causes severe muscle spasms. DC's program is among the country's most restrictive. Other jurisdictions are now more expansive, allowing marijuana to be prescribed for such conditions as anorexia and migraine, post-traumatic stress disorder, nausea, and hepatitis C. So they still don't have quite we still haven't quite got it yet in DC, but they're starting. Seems like all the stories are along the same theme. Oh, I never set my clock to go off at 2:20. Happy 4:20 to those people in, I guess it would be the Central time zone. Maybe I think Saskatchewan or Alberta in Canada. So happy 4:20. I'm going to light this joint and just take a moment to chill out before I go in the last few stories. So let's see, how is everybody doing in chat today? Let's have a look. Hey, Wave, Dr. Clone, Bravo, good to see you guys. Yeah, I took last week off, so I wasn't here doing it last week. It was my birthday last Wednesday. I turned 21. Not really. But yeah, it was good to take a break and now come back at the job with renewed vigor. I promised a 3D animation for the intro to the show, but I'm still working on that. They're going to get me a new computer soon, so that'll make my job a lot easier. Otherwise, we're all looking forward to Halloween here. We're not having a Halloween party this year, unfortunately. We're putting the money towards Sensible BC. Sensible BC is moving along. We're coming along on the final stretch. We're almost at only a month left. So if you haven't signed the petition yet, or if you haven't started canvassing and you want to start canvassing, now's the time to do it. It'd be really, really cool if we did this in British Columbia. That's how things are with me, except for my hair is pink. It was supposed to be just a dark purple, but it kind of came out pink. People seem to like it though, so I'm not complaining. So good to see you all. I hope you guys have a lot of good stuff to smoke, and now that I'm a bit more chilled out, I will finish off the news. More than 1,000 people are meeting in Denver, Colorado to develop a drug war exit strategy. Which state will be the next to legalize marijuana? What do the Obama administration's recent announcements about marijuana legalization and the mandatory minimums really mean? What are some solutions to the national overdose crisis that takes more lives than car accidents or gun violence? Why do blacks go to jail for drugs at 13 times the rate of whites, even though they use and sell drugs at similar rates? What role can faith leaders play in organizing and mobilizing their congregations to end the drug war? More than 1,000 people will gather to ponder these questions and many more at the International Drug Policy Reform Conference in Denver, Colorado, October 23rd to 26th at the Sheraton Denver Downtown Hotel. So it would have started 2 days ago. Support for the drug policy changes has never been more apparent. A Gallup poll released Tuesday shows a record-breaking 58% of American voters think marijuana should be legalized, up from the previous record high of 50% support in October 2011. In the past decade, voters and legislators have enacted hundreds of drug policy reforms on issues ranging from medical marijuana to treatment instead of incarceration for nonviolent drug law violations. Building on the momentum from these victories, more than 1,000 drug policy experts, healthcare and drug treatment professionals, elected officials, law enforcement, students, and formerly incarcerated people from around the country and across the world will gather to promote alternatives to the failed war on drugs. Denver provides a compelling backdrop for the conference, not just because Colorado made history last year by becoming the first state to legalize marijuana. Colorado is home to a strong base of savvy drug policy reformers advocating for harm reduction policies and sentencing reforms. It is increasingly viewed as a bellwether state in terms of policy and politics. Its national resonance will only increase in the years to come. DPA has been deeply involved in the state for more than a decade. In its first foray, DPA spearheaded and managed the campaign that passed the state's medical marijuana initiative in 2000. After playing a supportive role in our in-state allies for more than a decade, DPA opened up an office in Denver in early 2011 to help pass Amendment 64 and advance other drug policy changes. Well, that's fantastic. I hope you guys are doing awesome at your conference and come up with some great ideas and are able to implement them. Good on ya. I'm sure we'll hear all about what happened next week. And we're nearing the end of the show, so there's a couple of hemp stories this week. Confusion mounts over industrial hemp's legal status in Kentucky. Kentucky Attorney General says growing industrial hemp is still illegal, but Kentucky Hemp Commission attorney says it's not. You be the judge. In August, the Department of Justice issued a ruling that would honor state laws to regulate small-scale marijuana sales in states, notably Washington and Colorado, where legalization had already been passed. With the DOJ having done so, industrial hemp should also be allowed, said Kentucky Agriculture Commissioner James Corner. He said that if the federal government would make allowances for marijuana, how could it not do the same for industrial hemp? Legalization passed during the last General Assembly session has created an administrative framework, Senate Bill 50, regulating the growing of the crop if a federal statute prohibiting it were lifted. Coupled with the recent Department of Justice ruling that prompted the Kentucky Hemp Commission to take action. The commission voted in favor of having Comer and Senator Rand Paul draft a letter to the DOJ informing the agency of SB 50 and the intention to move forward in implementing the law by beginning the regulation and licensing process, so state farmers who want to raise a crop could be doing so by this spring. But just when supporters of industrial hemp thought the spring planting season was on the horizon, another obstacle has popped up, this time from Kentucky's Attorney General. In response to concerns voiced from various stakeholders, including law enforcement officials throughout the state, members of the General Assembly and members of the public, Attorney General Jack Conway sent an advisory letter last month to Kentucky State Police Commissioner Rodney Brewer, issuing his understanding. My apologies. Issuing his understanding of state and federal law as it pertains to growing hemp and the KHC's decision to move forward with the process of registering farmers who want to grow it. Okay, so that's another clusterfuck. You know, if the Department of Justice is not going to go against Washington and Colorado for recreational hemp, why would it go against states for growing hemp that doesn't even have a drug in it? Sorry. And finally, everything should be made from hemp, even guitars. Isn't that a part of a Blondie song? No. Stuart Burroughs spends most of nights in pubs, playing cover tunes till 3 a.m., give or take, then driving back to the Chateauway Valley. Waiting for him are his wife and 3 kids, the 20 heads of cattle from which he sells aged beef, $700 for 100 pounds. Playing music is how I pay the bills, he says. And he has a guitar workshop from where he makes ostensibly the world's only true hemp guitar. With partner Boyd Pello, Burroughs, 42, a guitarist, pianist, singer-songwriter, and teacher of same, wanted to make a guitar from sustainable material. Everything should be made from hemp, he says. So he and Pello started a little business, Canadian Hemp Guitars in Hemmingford, fooling around with hemp and molds and plastics for about 5 years to create an electric guitar similar in weight and feel to hardwood. They sell it for $1,150 to $2,000 and are built to order. Most of his inquiries came from out west, Calgary and BC, to California, where hemp is associated strongly with its derivative, cannabis. Smoking his guitars is not advised. There you go. I was just about to order one to smoke, but I'm glad they have that disclaimer. So, that's about it for the cannabis news for this week. Thanks for joining me again. Remember that cannabis is the most advanced plant on the planet. It's got multiple medicinal uses, multiple industrial uses. Like he said, everything should be made out of hemp. You can make cars, scooters, anything you need petroleum for plastics. You can make out of hemp seed oil. You can make paper. You can make cloth. The fact that we're not using hemp as one of our primary industrial resources is the real crime. So thanks for joining me. Hang in there. Have a good weekend, and I'll see you next week.